Samaritans. We'll be with you as soon as we possibly can. Please stay on the line. We're here to offer you emotional support, whatever you're going through. There's a bit of a wait at the moment. A volunteer will be with you shortly. putting you through to a volunteer now.
Hello, Samaritans. Can I help you?
Good afternoon.
Hello there.
My name is Howie.
Howie. Hi, Howie.
Hi. I would like to talk about my feelings, but it's not easy because I had a brain injury.
Okay, gosh. That sounds really tough.
I'm dealing with a difficult situation. My medical supplier has gone bankrupt.
Right, gosh.
They were contracted by the county council.
Right, okay.
But it's very difficult to understand the legal contractual situation. I am the service user. Somehow, Buckinghamshire, an organisation called Bucks Healthcare was involved, and also a company called NRS Healthcare was contracted to provide my repairs to my wheelchair. But the repairs have not been made to my wheelchair for 20 years.
Oh, gosh.
And a lot of the time, when I try to communicate with the health services, the people behave towards me in a very opaque manner that causes me to have seizures. And all of them constantly fail to inform me what my rights are, or what has been contracted to provide me care. I can't find the right words. So my wheelchair has been broken for 20 years.
Your wheelchair's been... Sorry, you cut out then. Your wheelchair's been broken...
For 20 years.
20 years?
Yes, my NHS wheelchair has been broken. I was prescribed, I think in 2004, is when I had my operation that left me unable to walk.
Gosh.
So my question is this. The Bucks Health, the NRS go to the receivers, called the Government Receiver Office, the official receivers. And then they have to hand over my medical file to Millbrook. Then I spoke to the lady on the phone just now. She said that my medical file was handed over to Millbrook last week, but she couldn't tell me on which particular day last week. Clearly, Millbrook do not know how to access this information. The information has not been handed over in an instantaneously accessible format. So Millbrook do not know how to work the computer system that NRS were using.
Oh, goodness.
So my wheelchair still can't be fixed. So there are two things have happened. One is that I have found a way of repairing my wheelchair. I watched a YouTube video, and they referred to a professor at Cambridge University who discovered a way to automatically balance casters. The healthcare system has been refusing to balance my casters for 20 years, so I'm always having caster wobble, like those wobbly supermarket trolleys.
Oh, yes, how horrible for you.
And so constantly being thrown out of my wheelchair, because when I go downhill, the wheelchair speeds up. When it speeds up, it goes into wobble, and then it just tips me forward because it has forward instability. Now, when I speak to the clinicians, the HCPC registered clinicians, like John Ward, he says, oh, when that happens, you have to stop. Well, excuse me, Mr. John Ward, HCPC registered clinician, but when I'm thrown out of my wheelchair, I've already stopped. So, your sentence makes no logic whatsoever. How come you're fit to practice even? And when I make a complaint about Mr. John Ward, I'm ignored. Nobody cares that the clinicians are not fit to practice. Neither the HCPC nor the people who do the contracting, nobody in the slightest cares about the patient or my experience or what I need. They don't care. It's like, I'm an occupational therapist, here's your wheelchair, get out of here. We don't want to know anything more.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But this is not medical care. And because of this, I went to my GP to explain that I'm in too much pain to look after my children because I have a long way to travel, all the way from London to Wales to look after my children. And instead of him reading the healthcare contract and telling me what care I'm supposed to do, that GP was called John Sugaranja Singh from Pine Street Medical Practice, he reported my children to the social workers, so they sent the police and the social workers round to my brother's house and had my daughter abducted. My brother was unable to, my autistic brother was unable to resist the forces of the police. My daughter was abducted and illegally deported, and she was sent to a country where she has no family, where she was left homeless and was violated.
Oh my goodness.
And the person to whom the court sent my daughter said they didn't want to look after my daughter and just left the child on the street. And I couldn't take my child back to the UK because I didn't have the medical support that I need. With my brain injury, I'm supposed to have a guardian who can help defend my daughter when she's being abducted by the authorities and can then instruct a lawyer to get my daughter returned. But as a brain injured person, the Mental Capacity Act 2005 strips me of that right. So when my daughter's abducted by the authorities, they can do whatever they want with her, and there's nothing I can do about it because I legally don't exist.
Oh gosh.
So what I'm trying to say to you is that going back to 2009, when I went to my GP to try to explain that I was in too much pain to look after my daughter, and that the caster wobble, I have to constantly readjust the direction of my wheelchair when I get caster wobble, because it'll happen on one side or the other, so I have to lean forward, twist, in order to stop the caster wobbling, depending on which side it is. And that causes a lot of severe pain in my spine. And so I have, but being in a wheelchair for 20 years, I have since discovered that it's because on one side of the caster, the front wheel, there's a valve, and that valve imbalances the caster that causes the wobbling. And when I spoke to James, the NRS technician who has now moved to Millbrook, he says that this is not a service provided by the wheelchair service. So I have to, and because the contract is being transferred from NRS to Millbrook via the official receiver, it's very difficult for me to know who I have to ask my question to. I don't know if I have to ask it to Bucks Healthcare, to Buckinghamshire County Council, to the commissioners who are called the Integrated Care Board, to NRS, or to Millbrook, or to the official receiver. Who am I asking my question to?
To try and get the blood to actually resolve.
Yes, because I only found the YouTube video last month, and so my theory is that what they have to do, they should get 4 sets of wheels, get some very small ball bearings, take the valve out of the inner tube, and then put different amounts of ball bearings in the front tires. So I have 4 different sets with 4 different amounts of ball bearings, and then I have to go downhill in the wheelchair with my smartphone reading the speed that I'm going, and then I have to record at which point the caster start wobbling, and to see if there's any particular position at which there's any improvement according to these different casters. And I asked James to do that today, and he said he can't do it. He says it's not in the contract. Well, I don't. But the thing is, I'm dealing with just a person who's just been bullied by his management to say get rid of the patient, and don't get involved in anything detailed that the patient needs, because all we want to do is throw wheelchairs at our patients and get rid of them. They don't want to know anything about the day-to-day problems I have trying to push the wheelchair. So my problem is, what I need, I want somebody to read the contract and let me know, is this in the contract or not? And then And then, if it's not in the contract, to make an official complaint and get this sorted out quickly. And not to ignore me, because every time I try to make a complaint to the NHS, they just ignore you. They can't deal with it because they haven't employed qualified people to inform patients about what their rights are. And those organisations like Health Watch that are supposed to deal with these things, they're not given access to these contracts. There's no independent person who's given access to these contracts who can inform the patients about what their rights are and if they've got any access to healthcare or not. Because if I haven't got access to casters on a wheelchair that don't wobble, then I haven't got access to healthcare, because that's absolutely essential for me to be able to push my wheelchair and look after my children.
Oh, of course. It's crucial, and what a stressful thing to be dealing with over such a long period of time.
20 years, incredible.
Yeah, it's just awful.
And the thing is, I have been not just through the NHS. I have been to the NHS in Wales, Scotland, Ireland. I have tried the French NHS, the Swedish NHS, the Dutch NHS, the Belgian NHS, the German NHS, the Italian NHS, the Spanish NHS, the Portuguese NHS. I have tried the Danish one, a lot, and the one from Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland. I've tried so many of these ones, and I've been to private people, and nobody wants to address the issue. And through just sheer abuse of myself and trying to communicate with people, I have come to the conclusion that the reason that casters on wheelchairs wobble is because this is a built-in design error. Because if they want the wheelchair to go slow, because if you have an accident at speed, your injuries will be more substantial, and therefore they will have a higher bill that they will be sued under.
So you think it's a way of slowing people down in the wheelchairs?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the problem is nobody will sit down with you, the patient, and explain that. The people, the HCPC registered clinicians are not trained to explain to patients that this is the case. And they don't give you an option to find a suitable wheelchair that goes at a proper speed so you can get to the bus stop on time, even if it's outside if my healthcare has to be done outside of MRHA and HCPC regulations, then I should be told that on day one. I shouldn't have to wait 40 years to slowly discover it myself, because that is not an accessible form of healthcare.
No, I completely understand. You sound utterly frustrated and angry about the situation, which is quite understandable.
But I don't feel frustrated or angry. I just feel that I've been given a very, very, very vast amount of work to do when I should be doing other things with my life. My healthcare should be efficient. It shouldn't be so efficient that I spend all of my life trying to fix my wheelchair instead of looking after my children.
Yeah.
If I had been able to vote the amount of time that I have to getting my wheelchair fixed to looking after my children, they wouldn't have been violated.
So tell me, where are your children now? Have you managed to resolve that or not?
No, it gets... I don't know how long you've got for this. I'll try to make it as quickly as possible. When my daughter was wrongfully deported, the High Court judge told me the only way that I could prevent this is to have a deputy. And I contacted so many different clinicians, and I reported dozens of social workers to the social work regulators. I was just ignored. And so eventually I found my own deputy. And this is the problem. Being brain injured, I am severely antisocial. You can hear that when you hear the sound of my voice, because it probably sounds to you that I'm shouting and I'm very rude and I might be angry or something like that. But this is not the case. It's just that when I try to speak, that's how my voice comes across. in an antisocial type of way. And that is why I can't pass a mental capacity exam. That is why I need a deputy, so I don't offend people, and people don't end up in a dispute with me that causes me to have a seizure. And the,
Right.
and the,
Okay.
but the problem is this: is that nobody, even the lowliest of people from the society underbelly, will have anything to do with me because they cannot cope with my speech disorder, the fact that I can't sleep at night and I make a lot of noise to keep everybody awake. And so, but in order to get that type of relationship, I need a person who's prepared to have a baby with me. Because in the 14 years I've been trying to find a deputy, this is the only type of person I eventually discovered that I could form a relationship with so that they could be staying with me long enough to be a deputy and would be able to tolerate me. But the problem is that they never had any training in order how to cope with a brain injured person, so they ended up having mental health problems and they disappeared.
Right.
So
Okay.
the problem is this person has gone to a foreign country with the 2-year-old child
Right.
because they couldn't cope with me.
Right. Okay. Gosh.
Now, the problem is this, is that I can't instruct lawyers to get access to the child because I am not allowed to, because of my lack of mental capacity, and my lack of mental capacity means I can't do it anyway. And
Right.
in theory, that person should be bringing their child to the United Kingdom so I can have contact. They should be bringing that child to the United Kingdom every day and allowing me to spend a night with that child until the child is 3 years old, because that's what I got from some kind of AI search. It said it was bad for mental health development for the baby. Anyway,
Yes.
but the problem is that I can't go to a lawyer and go through those processes to get that put in place because it's beyond my level of ability.
Right. Okay. Gosh.
And the child can't stay with me because the social services would find out and they would be round with the police in an instant to take the child away.
Oh gosh.
And so there's a problem that in order to have a guardian, I have to have a child. And that whole process is, let me try and explain to you carefully as possible. I'm supposed to not have contact with anybody because it causes me to have seizures. It makes my antisocial problems worse. But in order to regain my mental capacity, I have to have contact on a daily basis with a guardian, the very same people who caused me to have a seizure in the first place. So legally, I'm supposed to have contact with somebody on a daily basis, but medically, I'm not supposed to have contact with anybody. I'm supposed to live in isolation.
Oh goodness. Well, how does that make you feel?
Well, I find it very, very difficult because I'm in a situation whereby I'm constantly having to travel on the Eurostar overseas, and it's causing me a lot of problems because, like, when I go on the Eurostar train, they never bring the ramp on time. The staff are always shouting at me because I can't behave properly, and it will cause me problems. The Eurostar are very likely to ban me because I can't behave properly enough. It's okay travelling on the Eurostar, maybe 10 times a year, but any more frequent than that my problems will be statistically my problems will be too many, and they will interfere with my rights to travel. They could just ban me. And so my problem is that the guardian has abducted the child, according to the information I have. Yet I can't enforce my rights to be with the child because of my lack of mental capacity. So I don't know what I have to do. Am I supposed to abandon this child? I don't understand what I'm expected to do. There's nobody who can guide me or tell me what to do and how to handle the situation.
So tell me, who have you been able to speak to try and discuss what your options are?
The Samaritans, and then in Northern Ireland we have there's an 0808 number that we can dial, which is like the Samaritans.
Okay. So are you in Northern Ireland at the moment?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And then there is overseas you have the anti-suicide telephone lines, but the problem with those anti-suicide telephones, they're different from the Samaritans because you actually have to be actively trying to kill yourself before you're allowed to talk to them. And then and also they expect you to speak their language, not English. And what else is there? Then there is I try to talk to Ikaku, the child abduction telephone number. I try to talk to some lawyers. I try to talk to Reunite. It's another organization in the government that tries to deal with these types of things. And what else? Who I try to talk to? I talk to lots of people, but the problem is that the law is designed for decent people. It is not designed for disabled people who are vile and obnoxious like myself. And so, because that's how everything is designed in the world, you have an exclusive club of people, who all got perfect manners in the Houses of Parliament, who make all these laws about how to make a perfect society. But when it comes to people who are antisocial, well, sorry, zero tolerance. But they don't seem to understand that people who are antisocial, even if they haven't got mental capacity, they still have a central nervous system and can suffer. And they don't, but they don't factor that in. And so when I talked to AI and said that, I want to be sent to be euthanized by the government, they said, well, you have to be within 6 months of death. So I said, well, what about my brain injury in 1990? Oh, they said, well, in that case, you were legally dead in 1990, and what you are is you are just a neurological remnant. So that means, so when you're just counting the numbers, you are you're already 35 years past death. So the 6 months, you've passed the 6 months. It's 34 years and 6 months past the date. So they said I could be euthanized based on the fact that I'm legally dead for 34 and a half years or 35 years or whatever. I don't know how it works exactly.
No.
But imagine if I write that to my GP. The GP's just going to say I'm deluded. Just throw my letter in the rubbish bin. They can't even euthanize me. And I have to.
Have you, just out of interest, have you talked to any disability groups or charities that actually support people who are struggling with disabilities?
Yeah, but all they do is just signpost you to other people who signpost you to other people, and
so you're passed from person to person.
And the bottom line is there actually isn't any help because everybody's just paid to be a signposter. So there's no practical help. When I went to my MP in 2011, I explained to the security guards that I had a brain injury and I antisocial behaviour problems, they said it's okay. And then when I tried to speak to the MP, I had a seizure, and they called security, threw me out.
Oh gosh.
And so I went to Jeremy Corbyn. He said I should complain to Hazel Blears, the opposition chief whip, and she just ignored me. So there's nothing that you can do about it. Even the MPs won't speak to you. And I had a 2009 publication, I think published by HSBC. They explained how MPs were supposed to deal with their disabled constituents. It underlined everything in that report where the MP had failed me, and I sent it to the MP, and they still didn't bother to acknowledge it or say they've read it or anything.
So how does that make you feel?
Well, I'm a geologist by background, and I understand evolution, and understand that you cannot force people to like or to tolerate the unaesthetic. And so it's like that's just the way nature is. Nature constantly rejects the weaker. That's it. There's nothing you can do about it. There's just no resources.
It sounds like you've got an awful lot going around in your head at the moment, and how do you cope day to day? How do you cope with that?
It's like a lot of work. That's why I phoned the Samaritans just now, because I don't know who to contact when my wheelchair supplier goes bankrupt, because even before they were bankrupt, they weren't fixing my casters. So I'm going to send, because they're still in the receivers, I'm going to send them a subject access request and a freedom of information request, and I want them to tell me exactly, go into that contract, you exactly find out who is responsible for finding a way to stop my casters wobbling. Because if you're still the receiver, they still haven't finished handing it over to Millbrook, then they still have to answer my question. And they can't just say, I don't think they can say to me, oh God, we can't deal with this. Let's just ignore this person until we've finished being the receiver, and then we can just answer the question and say, I'm sorry, now we've handed everything over. And then we don't have to deal with it anymore. They can't, the government cannot just leave this kind of grey area between somebody going bust and somebody else taking over, whereby a vulnerable wheelchair user who has suddenly lost their deputy or guardian is suddenly in need of a higher performing wheelchair to cope with the extra amount of mobilizing they have to do, and that there's no clear person to go to answer questions. There wasn't even a clear person to go to even before the NRS went broke. Now I'm just left not knowing what's going on and how does this process transfer through the official receiver. Is the receiver supposed to provide me with health care? I don't know. I just don't know what's going on. And I know they're not going to come out and fix my wheelchair, but I will ask them, I think. But I will tell them, you know, if you're the receiver, you come out and fix my wheelchair. Right now, immediately.
Independently? Are you living on your own, or what's your situation?
Yes, I'm on my own, because I happen to be... If I'm not on my own, I have seizures. I can't deal with people because of my brain injury and my severe antisocial behavioural problems. People have tried to put me into housing in the past, but it doesn't work. Because I don't have the mental capacity to look after a home. And if they put me in a home, I can't pay the bills, I self-neglect, I end up with skin disease and blood poisoning, and they can't put me in sheltered housing because I make so much noise. I annoy the other residents and they just start attacking me and beating me up, and the staff will beat me up too. Yeah, they tried to do that last year, and they just threw me on the streets, and then I ended up being robbed by drug addicts.
Oh gosh,
Because
that sounds terrible.
because being a vulnerable person, decent people don't want to have anything to do with me. So the only people that come to offer help are people with sexual problems, drug problems, learning disability problems, immigration problems. Those are the only people who 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 what's the word? Who can offer me any help? Because decent people wouldn't have wouldn't want to have anything to do with me in the slightest.
So, sorry, just to clarify me, so where are you actually living at the moment? 'Cause you can't live in sheltered accommodation, you can't live in your own accommodation.
I'm outdoors.
Right, okay. And that's why you're coming into contact with all these different groups that are tricky to deal with. Yeah.
The reason I'm coming in contact with people is because since my deputy abandoned me, that I was renting a house for them to stay in. You see, so that meant that I could try to base my life around the apartment that I was renting them. But once they abandoned that, I was just completely thrown out onto the street again.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, and I try to explain something as well, that when you have a brain injury and you lose your mental capacity, that when you have a guardian, it's like your body exists in two locations. You have your ego, yourself, and then you have your brain extension, which is in your guardian. And so when you're by yourself, you can do dangerous things, you get into a lot of trouble. But when you have a guardian, the part of their brain that you're using, your orthotic support, your cerebral orthotic support, guides you into a more normalized way of life.
Right, okay.
And but
that was helping.
yeah,
Yeah.
but then and then the baby is like a bond that means that you're kind of more together. But the problem then is that when this person suddenly leaves, it's like you're suddenly traumatized. It's like you've had it's like part of your brain is ripped away, and so all of a sudden you start having a lot more problems with the police and people like that. And so I think that there's I'm trying to get some type of training for Guardian, but it's very difficult for me to get my concepts, my experience of guardianship or deputyship into the realms of the professionals who are supposed to work in that industry. Because if I say, well, my brain exists in two people, they're just going to like laugh and think I'm just deluded or stupid or a fantasist. But it's not the case. This is really, it's really how I try to describe, is the closest words I can find to describe my situation. That I have two bodies. I have my body and I have the body of my guardian. Then my guardian has their independent identity, but they're also carrying part of my brain with them. And if they take that part of my brain away, then they're taking away my mental capacity. So then I start to have a lot of problems, and it's very difficult to get this concept across to people because I think it's quite alien to people, and this is my experience and my interpretation. Yet in my 14 years I've been trying to find a guardian, nobody has ever had this type of conversation with me to explain how guardianship works in terms of having an extra body. So if my brain is in the body of another human being, I'm no longer just looking after myself, I'm looking after a second human being.
Yes, yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
Well, you see, I can, I'm glad you said something like that. But I feel that the people who work in the industry don't understand that. And if I was to try to explain it to them, I don't know how long this conversation has been going on, but they would probably just accuse me of being deluded as usual.
That's not delusional, is it? It's a way of you being stable, is having somebody else who is able to carry that pot for you, which is a very stabilising and enabling.
You see, you understand. But the problem is that type of healthcare has never been provided to me. The only way that I've been able to find that and understand that is by living the experience. Yet the healthcare providers don't provide me with the knowledge that I have just been able to impart to you. And so,
you're hitting a brick wall all the time in trying to get,
and I don't know what the reason behind the fact that they don't know about it or don't want to tell me. Is it because that they actually don't know, or they've never been trained to know, or they've been employed without that knowledge, or because even if that care existed, the government doesn't want to provide it because it might cost too much? What is the actual reasons behind the fact that I can't find the correct healthcare I need quickly enough? I shouldn't be left for 35 years constantly having problems and not being able to contact the correct clinicians. It's like the correct clinicians don't even exist.
Gosh, yeah.
Well,
so tell me, when did your guardian leave?
4th of June.
4th of June.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's really quite recent, isn't it?
You see, I rented a house for them in one country, and then they stayed there for 3 years, and then they decided, oh well, I don't want to live in this country because I don't speak the language. And they did it. They studied the language at the college, and they decided that even if they did speak the local language, there was no proper opportunities for them to earn reasonable amount of money. So they moved to a different country that would provide them with a higher salary. So we moved to that country. I put them up in a hotel for 10 days, and then after 10 days, I don't know what they were doing. They probably like on their smartphone looking up what to do. They couldn't work because they didn't have the local NHS number.
Okay.
And so in order to get the NHS number, they had to go and move into a hotel for battered housewives. And so they said, do you mind if I go into this hotel on my own? They said, because I can't cope living in a single bedroom with you because of your behavioural problems. I said, fine, there's no problem. And then they did that. And then they told me afterwards that the relationship was over.
Oh gosh, that must have been devastating for you.
It was devastating even when they moved into the hotel shelter, because I was just left on my own. I started having problems with the police almost immediately. By 17th, 4 to 17, within 2 weeks, in 13 days, I had already been fined by the police for trying to deliver wheelchair parts after 5 p.m., which was apparently illegal in that country. And I'm being prosecuted.
Oh gosh. Oh. And so have you ended up moving again back to Ireland? Is that what's happened?
Well, I didn't really ever leave. I never left Ireland. It's just because my family's there, and I have to look after them. But I had also to look after my deputy, where they had moved to, and where they decided to give birth to their child, because they were not enamored with the healthcare system that they were receiving when they were pregnant, when they first came to Ireland. And so they decided to go to a different country. They stayed with my.
Right.
They stayed there with my daughter and my daughter Charlotte for a few months before. They found they had some Canadian friends from the church and who were just renting a place temporarily until their apartment they had bought was ready, and so then they took over that apartment, and I had to pay €1,000 a month for that apartment. I paid that from May to. I paid that for just over 2 years. I paid that, and so it was a place where they could stay whilst they were pregnant, have the baby, and until the baby was nearly 2, when they decided that the time had come to try to be financially independent and not have to rely on my benefits.
Right.
And
Right, and that's the situation you're in now.
and
Yeah.
well, I'm still supporting them.
Right. Okay. Good.
But the because and the reason is not just because I have a child with them. The core reason is because my papers have sat in the Court of Protection for 2.5 years with their name on it, and the Court of Protection still hasn't finalised that paperwork. So the problem is, if I abandon this person, I'm abandoning 2.5 years of work through the Court of Protection, and even longer, all the work that I put into that relationship. And who knows, by some miracle of God, the medical training that they require to look after me might suddenly materialize, and they change their mind about wanting to be my guardian, and you know, Hail Mary, all of a sudden I have the guardian I need. So just because they've given up on me doesn't mean that I should give up on them.
So when did you last see your daughter Charlotte?
I saw her around about the beginning of June, because she
Sorry, it's breaking up.
yeah, let me just move a bit. Charlotte was because she cleaned up she cleaned the apartment for the guardian when the guardian moved out before they handed back the keys.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you saw her fairly recently.
June,
Yeah.
July, August. Yes, maybe just over 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
Did you get to speak to her at all? Obviously, I know you haven't seen her. Did you get to speak to her?
Yeah, she phoned me up and asked for €300 to pay her rent,
Right.
which I have to do. Yeah. I have lots of people to look after in my life. And the reason is because being a disabled person, the people who help me in my life are vulnerable people who then themselves need a lot of support. Yeah. So it's like it's a lot of work for me as a brain injured person to have to look after lots of other people.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, there's the expression, a trouble shared is a trouble halved. So one hopes that this kind of economic philosophy will help in the end. Yeah. So Charlotte likes to cook. You see, she likes to cook me food, but I don't like to eat all the time because I'm overweight and I can't push my wheelchair. So I always need to diet. So I'm a lighter weight, so it's less painful to push the wheelchair.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I can't get Charlotte to understand that. It's giving me like very heavy, energy-rich food.
Right, which you just didn't need.
I keep telling her, just give me smaller portions, and it's like, no, Daddy, you know, I need to feed you. Being fat is good, she says.
Oh.
He does not understand that it puts stress on my musculoskeletal system. I can't cope.
Yes, yeah. Oh, gosh. How old is she now?
Charlotte is somewhere like, she's born in 90... That's right, she complained. She was complaining that she was older than my guardian and didn't want to take instructions from the guardians. The guardian was born in '96. I think Charlotte was born in 1990. My wife was born in 1990, and then I think she's born in '94. I don't know. That's when Elizabeth, my first daughter, was born. I don't know. It's difficult. I have a lot of children, so I can't remember their, or just early '90s, say.
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. So she's growing into a young adult now as well.
Yeah. The problem is though that she was violated and ended up with a baby I have to look after.
Oh, I see. Okay. So she also has a baby.
Yeah. A lot of my children are adopted. And that they never received the right support because of my disability, and then they end up being impregnated without a husband. So I have 3 fatherless grandchildren to look after.
Okay, gosh. So your family just grows and grows.
Yes, it's because I just end up with vulnerable people all the time, and as a vulnerable person myself, and I don't mix with good, decent, professional people who don't end up in these types of unviable situations.
So you said you're outside at the moment, so you don't have an address at the moment that you're based at?
That's right. I have to keep moving.
That's right.
Otherwise,
Okay.
I get into trouble with the authorities if I stay in one area too long.
Right.
Because I can't cope. I have seizures, and so rather than deal with social workers who are not fit to practice, I don't want to get into some great big long fitness to practice investigation. I just say, well, just move on. I've made my report, and if you still want to remain unfit to practice, well, I can't. I don't really want to get involved, please, because it would just cause me distress and seizures, and so I move along a lot. It's what the doctors told me 20 years ago, that when I'm faced with seizure-like behaviour, I have to turn around and move away. I'm not supposed to get involved with complaints and legal contracts,
right.
And that's why I can't rent a house or pay utility bills, because it will cause me seizures.
So do you currently have a doctor that supports you now or not?
No, I don't.
No.
Because when I try to communicate with the doctors, they will get angry with me, and they just get rid of me.
Yeah.
Well, I can't form relationships. And if they have, the problem is they don't have the resources, and they're not aware that they don't have the resources. So what's the point? I spoke to a doctor even last week, Dr. Wilson, and he says, well, I should take it up with the social workers. But I've been taking it up with the social workers for decades. He said, go to the Citizens... He said, go to the Citizens Advice Bureau. But I've been to the Citizens Advice Bureau, and I got banned. I tried to get my complaint dealt with by the complaints process at the Citizens Advice Bureau, and they didn't want to deal with it.
Okay. Oh, gosh.
But that's
You've tried so many different routes, haven't you?
Yeah, because the bottom line is, if you're brain injured and you're disabled, and you're antisocial, and you lack communication skills, then, why would they be expected to spend resources on me when they could spend the same amount of resources on 10 other people and resolve 10 problems? When with me, they wouldn't even be able to solve one problem, because the resources that I require don't even exist anyway. Oh.
Of course. So if you're outside and moving on a lot, how are you managing to eat? Are you able to do that?
I go to restaurants and they give me food. I say, did you have any food?
Okay.
I go to the restaurant and I said, can I please have some food that you're going to throw away? And they just give you, I would say, it's 50-50. Half of them will give you food, and half of them won't give you food. It's not that difficult just to, if you get rejected, just to go to the next restaurant.
No, that's how you're surviving doing that.
But that causes a lot of disgrace. My guardian was very, very angry that I did that type of behaviour, but they don't seem to understand. But if I do that, then I've got money to pay for their rent. And
you're just trying to manage your resources.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, preventing my children from being violated and regaining my mental capacity by having a guardian is absolutely core and vital.
Yeah.
I can't, even if that guardian is going to abuse me, it's better to put up with a bit of abuse and at least regain my mental capacity somehow.
Yes.
Oh, I've told you a lot.
You have been very articulate, and you've expressed an awful lot. It sounds like you are ongoingly having a very, very challenging time.
Yes.
And trying to keep going.
And the reason I called you is because I don't know how to communicate with the official receiver about my medical care. I have to somehow draft them a letter, because they said the manager would call me back today or tomorrow, and before they call me back I have to prepare all of my thoughts, and the best way to do it is to put it in a letter. And so if they call me up, I can at least just pick facts out of the letter. And normally I do that just through AI, because the AI will tell me what law they have to do things under. And I will just say to AI, this is my situation, and I need to get my casters on my wheelchair fixed. So, please analyze the situation and let me know what the official receiver is supposed to do for me, and tell me what should the official receiver not say. What do they have a right to not do? I can't just be left in the fact that the transfer of a contract from NRS to Millbrook leaves me without medical care for a month, because I'm a vulnerable person, and it's caused me to end up being prosecuted by the police. On the 17th of June, because the NHS wheelchair is no good, I have to build my own wheelchair, and it's just taking many, many years to do that. And I cannot possibly use this NHS wheelchair outside. It's not suitable because of unbalanced casters. And I found a YouTube video that shows how to balance these casters. The gentleman from the wheelchair service from Millbrook, his name is James, I spoke to him on the phone about it today, and he said this is not a service that's provided. So why should I accept the fact that what James says is he's not the manager, he's not the clinical director. So you're
anticipating a phone call with the manager tomorrow, is that right?
Today or tomorrow, they said.
Today or tomorrow, okay.
And but the problem is that I'm not a lawyer. I don't have all the facts. So somehow I need to get my situation clearly written on paper, so that when I speak to this person, instead of being fobbed off, which is what they would want to do because they've got limited resources, that they actually provide me with the medical care that I've been looking for 20 years. And for 20 years, the medical care I need is to have a wheelchair without wobbly casters.
Yes, yeah.
And I found this YouTube video that has a solution. James says that it's not a service that's provided, but I disagree with that. And I want somebody to help me to get this answer either from NRS or from the official receiver or from Millbrook or from Bucks Healthcare or from the council. I want one of these people to answer my question about how do I get these casters balanced so they don't wobble anymore. Because I don't think that's unreasonable.
Well, no, absolutely.
And
Especially if you're trying to use it outside and it doesn't work well outside.
exactly. Now, if I'm going down a hill, then the rehabilitation engineer says when my casters wobble, I have to stop. Now, if I'm going down a hill, the wheelchair automatically stops when the casters wobble, but it does it in a violent manner that throws me out, and I end up with injuries. So what the rehabilitation engineer that's employed by this complicated plethora of medical services is this person is not fit to practice, because you can't just say to somebody when they're being thrown out of your wheelchair to stop, because that's exactly what you're in the process of being done to you by this mechanical device.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So it makes no sense. This person, what they're saying, makes no sense. That's not fit. To me, that's not fit to practice. But the HCPC, whoever's in charge of regulating these people, don't want to deal with the matter. So I need to know, in the contract that is provided to me, when I need to have balanced casters and not to have caster wobble, where in my contract does it say this matter should be properly addressed? I want to know where's the clause, because I can't just deal with people who are who don't even know the contract themselves, told by their senior managers just get rid of these people. I need them to please communicate with me clearly in terms of what is being provided for me through these contracts. You can't just leave me with wobbly casters for 20 years.
One thing I've just picked up on is that you're talking about Buckinghamshire, but you're in Ireland at the moment. Is that right?
The last GP that I was registered with was in Glenavy in Ireland, and I deregistered because my GP retired, Dr. Robin Hindman, and so my NHS notes went to the BSO in Belfast, and I've not re-registered with a GP. And the reason that I'm based in Ireland is that if my guardian doesn't have a visa to come to the United Kingdom, and the Home Office will never give this person a visa because I'm blacklisted.
Right.
Because most of the children I adopted came from overseas, and so they consider me to be a facilitator, a people facilitator. And so that is it. So that's the problem. And the only way to get around this is for me to gain Irish nationality, Irish citizenship, because there's a treaty in force between the British and the Irish governments that if an Irish person has a partner who is has a partner, they are allowed to travel to Britain without a visa. And there is no other nationality. That's only between Ireland and Britain.
Okay.
See? And so at the moment I'm preparing my dossier to get an Irish passport. When I get an Irish passport, my guardian will be allowed to travel to the UK with the baby without having to get a visa from the Home Office, which they would never allow. So my problem, this is part of the complicated legal thing I'm being put under, because the government is like, they don't care if you're disabled or not. Rules are rules.
Yes.
They're not. If I say to the Home Office, my guardian has to travel to the UK because they have to see me every day and look after me, they're going to say, well, so what? We don't accept that as a reasonable adjustment under the Equality Act. They're just not coming. So so it's the only way to get around that. And so I've done a lot of work in Ireland, in the Republic, not Northern Ireland, of course, but and so and I've been putting together my dossier and to try to apply for my nationality. And I had a lawyer in Cork who was supposed to help me, and they just ignored me. Typical. And so I'm going to put in my application this year or next year or sometime soon, and get my Irish thing, and then, of course, hopefully, the Guardian will be then for example, I could have put my application in with the what do you call it, the courts, for the Guardian to travel to the UK to give me contact with the child, so I don't have to.
Yeah.
Because the last time I was in this type of situation, they took the children away from my brother in Wales, and I had to travel to the continent to look after them, and I just had seizures the whole time and lost my passport so many times I wasn't allowed a passport anymore. So the only way to get to the UK was to fly in a light aircraft and avoid immigration, but I crashed and broke my back.
Okay, gosh.
Yes, you see. So because I'm not a responsible person. The idea that I can be a bird and just fly across it's not as easy as it just seems.
No.
You can die that way, and although I just managed to break my back, I'm in a lot of pain ever since. So
I can imagine.
So, but the problem is that when you have lawyers and stuff like that, they don't take into account the fact that you're disabled and you can't do things. They're just terrible people. I don't think lawyers care one bit whether you're disabled or not, or you can't do things. And if they say you don't have mental capacity, they say, oh well, we're not going to take instructions from you. We're going to take them from Alistair Pitt-Blado, the official solicitor, a person who's never met me. How can he give my instructions? He knows nothing about me. When I went to his office in Chancery Lane, I couldn't get my wheelchair into his tiny lift, and he refused to come downstairs and speak to me when I was trying to lodge my appeal against my daughter's wrongful deportation.
Oh gosh,
So,
yeah.
so that's why I need my own guardian. But my guardian has now disappeared with the baby.
Yes.
And I'm and so I developed a program with AI about how to regain my guardian through ESP or through tact and guile. And so just to say, okay, this person's having a mental health problem, and that so what I do is I send various family members to this person, who this person is friendly with, to try to rebuild the contact with the person that they've rejected, me. And it's kind of worked, because I have an adopted son. I sent this adopted son there, Emmanuel, and he managed to talk to my guardian upper level to kind of retract the fact that the relationship is over. And then on the baby's birthday, they then had a joint birthday party with the child who was illegally deported and raped, and so they seem to have a relationship there, which is extremely positive, because the guardian initiated that birthday party, and so I thought, well, that's very positive, because the whole point of me having that guardian is to lodge the appeal against the wrongful deportation of that particular child. So it seems to me that there seems to be some kind of something positive there that I couldn't have imagined, to be honest.
No, couldn't anticipated that. No, that is lovely.
Well, so the way I see it is, if it's just me, then I'm just a well of trouble and problems. But if I can bring other family members in, it looks like, there's a team that can be built to create some kind of support, league of support. And so I'm just trying very hard to not get these bad, dodgy lawyers involved whatsoever. I use AI and try to ask AI for help and guidance. It seems to be working. It's quite an interesting tool. I don't know if you've ever used it.
I have for much smaller things, yes. But it sounds like it's working really well for you.
Have you ever used it for writing letters?
No, I haven't.
Well, it's very good because it tells you the law and stuff. So
Okay,
I say I got this problem, and writing this letter, and then the AI says, well, the law says blah blah blah. Do you want me to include something from the law? I said, why not? And then you send it in, and then people start paying more attention to it.
That's really helpful, isn't it?
Well,
really helpful.
I don't know, because if everybody does that, again, there's only so many resources. All by using AI, all you're doing is temporarily bumping up your place in the queue, where ordinarily you would just be ignored. But the problem is trying to sustain that conversation when the pressure upon the opposite party is to crash the conversation. All you do is you temporarily suspend it for just a little bit longer before they find some trick to crash and wipe you out. I want to say thank you for speaking to me.
Oh, it's my pleasure to talk to you. I do hope it's helped. Just talking. I've only been able to offer sort of emotional support, but I do hope that's helped you in some way. Yeah,
I managed to talk about the things that I'm trying to put together to write my letter to the official receiver. I've got to get this wheelchair fixed, because if I don't get it fixed, I won't be able to mobilize and comply with all the people making demands upon me.
Well, I really wish you well with that, and I hope you can get it sorted, so that you can then sort of move forward.
Yes.
In some way, literally and metaphorically as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's been good to talk to you.
Thanks very much for your help and your guidance and understanding.
That's my pleasure. You take care now, and I wish you well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye then. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.